one day I just decided I'm just going to write a story that's in my head. And the story that I was going to write was going to be a lighthearted look at a long-term marriage and how couples take each other for granted. And then when I started writing the book, which is between February and November, when I started writing that book, the characters decided that the story was going a completely different way. So the story I ended up with between February and November ended up being a little more dramatic than I originally anticipated.
You are now listening to the highlight reel builder for authors, the Going North podcast. I'm your host, best-selling author, and Maxwell Leadership Certified Trainer, DomBrightmon. And you're going to be getting some tips and techniques to advance yourself coming up next. Today's review highlight comes from Lachuca, all the way from the US of A. Hey, that's this country. And they left a 5-star review titled Humorous Brilliance. And I love the title of this review already. And they thought that the podcast itself, Going North, is deep, seeking, and fun for a discovery of life. Thanks a bunch, Lachuca, for leaving that 5-star review. Appreciate you. And if you like something about the show and definitely want to give us a review, do just that on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts, so that way we can highlight your review in the future. Now let's get on with today's episode. And today on the highlight reel builder for authors, known as GMP, the great, glorious, and glamorous, is the Going North podcast. And we got another super special, awesome human for today, courtesy of my good buddy, Mr. Mickey Mickelson, all the way from Canada, but America kidnapped him metaphorically because of the freedom down to the good old state of Texas. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. The barbecue gets him every time. But my goodness, ain't about barbecue. It's about today's super special, awesome guest, because she's a newly minted award-winning author. So that's right, indeed. So blue ribbon swag ahoy, with no loaf of bread required. And she's also a wonderful grandmother and a wife as well. So let's give it up for the PL herself, indeed. The powerful and lovely Patti Lee. How you doing today, Patti?
Hi, Dom. I'm good. That is quite the introduction. Thank you so much. And thank you for having me today.
Woohoo! That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. It's great having you. That's right, indeed. Especially a new writer who finally joined the business of immortality.
That's one way to look at it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely. That's right, indeed. When you walk around with 5 eyes, you got to know something. That's right, indeed. You got to see something minimum. That's right, indeed. But hey, it ain't about having 5 eyes and being all extra esoteric and spiritual and otherworldly and seeing UFOs. It's about the powerful Patti. And as all introductions, they're not allowed to be 67.3 days long, and they're probably only covered maybe 0.1 days of content. So my feeling is a bit on your backstory of how you got to where you are today since your first time on the show.
Sure. I started writing in 2019 and published my first book in 2022. It was very exciting. I actually finished the book in 2019. I started writing in February of 2019, and I thought I was done with my book in May of 2019. Clearly, I was not, because I didn't know what I was doing. Yeah, and then I found a publisher, and that publisher went under. They went out of business. And then I found another publisher, and here I am now. And for my day job, I do some admin work. And before that, I did some daycare. I did some childcare.
So Patti loves the kids. That's right.
I do love the kids. I've got 3 super fabulous grandkids. 3 of them,
Sweet.
two boys and a girl, and they keep Patti a little bit young, not too young, just enough to stay fun.
That's right, because she doesn't want to give up those discounts, y'all. That's right. Right, indeed. It's like, no, don't make me too young. No, just make me look young. That's right, indeed. I need to keep the discounts here. That's right, indeed. Inflation's too real right now, dang gummit.
It definitely is. It definitely is.
Ah, that's what I'm talking about, indeed. And heck, it's kind of interesting too, because if I'm not mistaken, at one point you wanted to be a teacher at one point.
I did. When I was younger, I wanted to be a mother and I wanted to be a teacher. And that was my goal in life when I was younger. And then I attained that goal for the most part. So I was a mother when I was 19. And then I wasn't a school teacher, but I was a preschool teacher, which to me, that worked. I was able to kind of tick that off of my list. Yeah, and it was a really fulfilling time. I think teaching and shaping little minds is like an amazing thing, and I had the best time. That was like I always call that like the first season of my life. That was my first real gig as an adult.
So what happened at the end of season one? Was there a cliffhanger?
No, not really. Season two was the admin part. So season two was when I started working in offices and learning how an office runs and learning how a business works. And now season three is overlapping season two a little bit because I still do some admin stuff, but season three is the writing biz. I'm hoping to make that a longer gig, the writing thing.
Sweet. There we go. That's right indeed. She wants it to be longer than all the wiener dogs, y'all. That's right indeed. That's right indeed.
Absolutely. Yes, yes. Longer than a wiener dog would be really great.
That's right indeed. We don't have wiener cats for a reason. That's right indeed. I figured
No,
9 lives will be enough.
no, but if there were wiener cats, I would totally get one because I mean, come on, it's a wiener cat.
But we probably got weenie cats. So my goodness, so with the admin work, so did any of your admin work help you out with your now goal of becoming full-time writer one day?
I don't really think so. I'm more of a paper pusher. I do a little writing just for the website, but not any. I don't do fiction for work, obviously, because it's a small nonprofit that I work for. But it really does not help my writing other than for me to say to myself, I want to write more. But I'm very fortunate. The job that I have, I work from home and I work part time. So it's easy for me to just kind of get in that zone to do the writing.
Ah, okay. There you go. That's right indeed. The fiction is it's a profit. Let me stop. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. I was messing with Jane. That ain't the fiction part, definitely. The fiction part is your novel indeed. Dude, so my goodness, so since it's a novel, what inspired you to go the novel route? Did you get tired of writing real world stuff and be like, get me out of here, it's too gray, I need some color in my life?
Well, I never really thought about and I didn't really write like for work. It was just like updating our website. So it wasn't like a whole bunch of stuff that I was actually writing. I've always journaled in my life, so my own stuff, and that's a good way for me to process things. And I've always like if I'm out at a store or in a coffee shop or at the mall or something, and I just overhear snippets, or I'll be even at a restaurant and I'll look at the people across from me, and in my mind I've made up kind of a story about who they are and why they're there and what they're saying to each other. And that's just something that I've always done, and it's always been kind of fun. And then one day I just decided I'm just going to write a story that's in my head. And the story that I was going to write was going to be a lighthearted look at a long-term marriage and how couples take each other for granted. And then when I started writing the book, which is between February and November, when I started writing that book, and I put the characters down on paper, and I'm what you call a plant stir, so I don't plot out my story, but I also don't drive by the seat of my pants either. I have a little bit of plotting and a little bit of you know writing by the seat of my pants. But it definitely, when I started writing, and again, the story I had in mind is not the story that came out in the characters. The characters decided that the story was going a completely different way. So the story I ended up with between February and November ended up being a little more dramatic than I originally anticipated. It's not a lighthearted look at anything at all. It's pretty dramatic in a few places.
Ah, that's right indeed. Because if I'm not mistaken, things got a little too intimate, and then one of the readers sent you a letter, be like, "Hey," or was your mama thing where things got a little too graphic?
Yes, from my auntie. She read the book and she said she enjoyed the book for the most part, but there was a scene with Mel, who was one of the characters, that made her a little uncomfortable. So I assured her my next book does not have any intimate scenes in there at all. So the next one she should read without blushing, I hope.
Go for full tomato, full blush. Let them all blush.
I don't think I could. I don't think I could write a scene where anybody would full blush, because I think I would be too uncomfortable myself. I think I would definitely need a lot more time as a writer to be comfortable writing an intimate scene that is going to make anybody blush. I mean, the scenes in between February and November are very, very, G rated. Real, maybe PG. Probably not G rated, but PG. They're not explicit at all, and they made me uncomfortable writing them. So maybe I need to take like an erotica course or something. I don't know. But if I go in another book, and I do maybe venture off into the romance genre, I'll definitely have to sharpen my skills in that area.
Ah, I hear you. So that's right, folks. So in a couple years, you're gonna see Patty with her hair completely dyed black and a cigar. Just saying, you know what's gonna happen. Full erotica, baby. That's right, D. It was the teaser. She's got a taste of the dark side.
Oh, I don't know. I feel like I don't know. I really don't think I could write anything like that. Maybe romance. Maybe. I don't. It would definitely be that hot cold romance, though. The kind of that kind of meet cute business.
Okay, all right. I guess since you're a planter, it would be a romance.
Yeah, I guess that works. Sure.
But hey, I guess that's what happens when you got a hybrid style like that, because it's like you're not full going flying by the seat of your pants and not full outline sticking to the whole script of everything, making sure it's the I's dotting the T's,
You know, I
crossing
have
my
I have a I have a friend who actually takes post it a Twitter friend on Twitter, and she actually has a board with post-it notes. I don't even know how many post-it notes she has. I probably 50 post-it notes. I don't know, but she lays her books out scene by scene by scene. And which is really a great idea, because then if she has to adjust something, she can just move the post-it note and then know, what she's doing and where she's going. I'm organized in my regular life, but I'm just not that organized as a writer. That just, I was telling her this morning, that just feels so overwhelming to me. Like that would just be like, I would look at that and it would just be too hard for me to do that. I'm just not that organized as a writer.
Ah, I hear you. I hear you indeed. That's right. Besides, you got to find your flow anyway. So that's how the magic happens anyway. Everybody's got a different style of doing things, and you just got to find the flow, feel it in your bones.
Exactly, exactly. And some days your flow is flowing awesome, and then other days it's a drip out of the faucet, if I'm lucky. I think it depends on how much coffee I've had.
Ah, that's right indeed. And I'm pretty sure that's required too. Do you ever get writer's block or writer's Lego?
You know what, I don't know what they call it. I haven't gotten writer's block yet, but I'm a relatively new writer. But I procrastinate, which is not in my nature either. I am not a procrastinator, but I have found as a writer, I especially, so here's what happened. So this morning, like 3 o'clock this morning, I'm awake, and all I'm thinking about, I have three different scenes that I'm thinking about in my head. And I'm laying in bed and I'm thinking to myself, I should just get up and write the scenes, because then I'll stop thinking about them. And then I got up. So it's like 3:09 or something. It's super early. And I make myself a coffee and I do the Wordle and I take the dog out. And then I come to my desk and I don't do the scenes that I woke up to do. And I think, oh, I have all day to do that, right? Because today I try to take Fridays off. I try to take Fridays off from my day job, and I like, oh, I have all day to do that. But the universe said that's not what we're doing. So I sometimes there's got to be a name for it, and maybe another writer will help us out and tell us what it is. But for some reason, writers tend to procrastinate, and they will waste time on Twitter, or they will waste time on Facebook, or they will waste time doing word puzzles. anything but putting that scene down, or those 3 scenes down that woke me up and kept me up this morning. Anything but to do that. I'm bound and determined to do that before I go to bed tonight, though. I feel like I'm going to have to, or I'm going to hate myself in the morning.
Don't do that. Don't hate yourself in the morning. Just wake up in the morning, look in the mirror, and be like, "Man, I am adorable." That's right, indeed.
I'm adorable, but I'm an adorable procrastinator.
That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. But hey, it's called creative procrastination. At least that's what some of the new age gurus like to say now, or heck, not even all new age gurus, just those who may be like, hey, procrastination ain't so bad if it's creativity. It's giving your brain time to keep up with your ideas so it could wake up and be like, hey, let's give this to the human. And
I
it could
like that
use it
idea.
maybe.
Yeah, I like that, creative procrastination, because then, I can just say that the ideas are brewing in my brain and they just haven't come to fruition yet. So I'm still kind of doing the work, but that wasn't the case for this morning, because this morning I had them like narrowed down in my head exactly what I wanted to say, exactly what I wanted to do, and I just didn't do it. So I'm gonna carve out time tonight to do that for sure.
So what you're saying is you got a pumpkin you're going to carve later.
and then I can say I met my expectation, because I said I was going to carve it out, right?
There you go. That's right, indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of carving out time, carve out a pumpkin, which kind of is carving out time. Because
A
you
carve is a
expended to
carve
do
is a carve, right? Doesn't matter what
There
I'm
you go.
carving.
There you go. Or maybe just see the pumpkin as your future novel. There you go. It might work.
Oh yeah, right. Take notes. It'll
That's
be
right.
featured in my next book. I'll call them Dom.
Let's hope it's the good one and not the romance novel version. But hey, what can I say? Editors are good for taking out the pumpkin seeds, am I right?
Oh, yeah, those are the worst.
So speaking of seeds, here you're part of a 5 a.m. writer club, which explains the 3 a.m. wake up time. So how am I good? So what how's that been for? Is that one of your keys to your writing success to cross the finish line?
Well, I started the 5 a.m. Writers Club. I started being a regular member of the 5 a.m. Writers Club about a year ago. So I wasn't aware of the 5 a.m. Writers Club when I wrote my first book between February and November. And then I wrote my second book, which is kind of the remnants of what between February and November was going to be, which is that kind of lighthearted look at long-term marriage. And so I really wasn't aware of the 5 a.m. Writers Club until I was probably 3/4 of the way done with that one. But yes, to answer your question in a roundabout way, the 5 a.m. Writers Club it's very motivating and very supportive. And knowing that I have, this group of other people that are getting up at the same time as I am and shuffling to their computer at 5 o'clock in the morning to check in and say good morning, and then get to work and hopefully get some words down on the page. It's helpful. And somebody had one of my Twitter friends had just posted the other day about how it was 5 o'clock and she didn't want to get up, knowing that there were other writers signing into the 5 a.m. Writers Club. It was kind of that extra boost that, got her to pull the blankets off and actually get out of bed. And that's kind of a vision that I had in my head when I got up yesterday. And I was like, well, if Gail can do it, then I can do it. And so that is what I did. So I try to do the 5 a.m. Writers Club Monday through Friday. I'm still up early on the weekends, but I try not to do social media. I'm not a big social media person. So I try not to do social media on the weekends at all. Sometimes I do, but for the most part, it's Monday through Friday, and it's usually between 5 and 7. That's when the 5 a.m. Writers Club kind of unofficially meets, between 5 and 7. And then every third week of the month, we have what's called a virtual donut party. And so Ralph Walker is the organizer of this virtual donut party. And there's a couple of other 5 a.m. Writers Club people that are part of that. And so he sends out a Zoom link, and we all log into our Zoom at 5 a.m. And some of us are in our pajamas, and it's everybody has their cameras on. And sometimes we have a special speaker, sometimes we just kind of talk about the writing business, and what we can do and how to make our lives better as a writer, how to improve our craft as writers. And we do that from 5 to 7, like I said, every 3 weeks on the Zoom, 5 a.m. It's crazy. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. I mean, I attend as often as I can.
Sweet. That's what I'm talking about, indeed. That's right, indeed. That's that dedication right there, indeed. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. By the week. That's right, indeed. Heck, even that's a wise policy, too. Avoiding social media on the weekends as well. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed.
Yeah.
It'll be good for your mental health. That's right, indeed.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, if I wasn't a writer, if I wasn't doing this writing thing, I would not be on social media. I mean, I had a personal Facebook before I started writing, and then I never really went on it. It wasn't something that I spent a lot of time on. After I would catch up with people in the beginning, but then, after, a couple of years, it just was like, it's kind of a time suck. You spend a lot of time scrolling through your Facebook feed, and it's just, to me, my time could be used better in other ways, like writing, for example. So instead of spending my time on Facebook, I'm hopefully doing something a little more productive.
That's what I'm talking about, indeed. You gotta love the productivity. Indeed. That's right, indeed. So, my goodness, is there a question that you wish folks would ask you more often when you're being interviewed on these podcasts?
Actually, Tom, do you know what? This is so out of my element, this interviewing thing. I am happy to answer questions, but I certainly never think about a question that I hope somebody's going to ask me, because I'm like that, in school you always had the people that like sat at the back of the classroom, and they very rarely raised their hand. That would be me. That would be me. So I'm like, I part, hopefully overlooked. you know Hopefully nobody's paying attention. So I really I cannot think of a single question that I would hope that someone would ask me. I mean, other than like, what are you working on, like what are you writing, and then I can like blather on about what the story that I'm working on, or what I'm procrastinating about today.
So do you have to dodge kittens while you're writing? Because here you got 5 of them or 4 of them.
I do. I have 4 cats. And I do love them, but I have they do. I mean, get in the way is a little harsh, but because I do love, like, when they come and they literally lay on my computer keyboard, and then I can't type. But they're so darn sweet, and I just can't help it. I just love them. The cats are the best. And now I also have a puppy. His name is Bruno. He's a Pomsky, so he's a Pomeranian Husky mix. And he has definitely put a cramp in my style and the cat's style, because the cats do not like him because he has way too much energy. My cats are like lazy cats. They're like, sit on my lap and they'll let me pet them, and they'll like sleep, and they don't want to, like, they play, they'll play with something, but for the most part, they're just kind of like, whatever, man. Like, that's how they are. They're like super laid back. And this puppy, who's like 6 months old now, but he has so much energy, and they they cannot be within 5 feet of each other. I mean, if that puppy sees one of the cats, he just chases it right away. And I mean, he's actually like, he's been with them, like he wants to play with them. They do something called the play bow, the dog does, where he just kind of goes down on his front paws and his little back end wiggles up, and he just wants to play with the cats, but he has so much energy, and it's like they can feel his energy coming from him, and they're just like, I'm out of here, like I'll see you later. So I used to have the cats on my desk and in my lap and like at my feet and in my chair, but since the puppy is here, the puppy is now on my lap or under my desk or on my feet. So I don't get to spend as much time with my cats as I used to.
Yeah, puppy power. That's right, indeed.
Puppy power.
That's right.
Are
That's right.
you a dog person or a cat person?
I guess dog by default. I'm allergic to cats.
You're allergic to cats?
Oh yeah, meow.
I am too, Dom. I am too. I am. So
Yeah.
I have the eye drops, I have the inhaler, I have the nose squirty stuff, I have the pills. I sometimes the love is greater than the allergy, I guess. But I can see if you know if you are so allergic that it's like, man, I can't even be near a cat. Because I have a friend like that. She's like, if she even cat hair touches her, it's like Hive City. So I can see that. I can see that.
Heck yeah, especially with asthma too on top of that. No, thank you. I'm good.
No, thank
I
you.
am freaking good. So my goodness, so what have your pets taught you about writing or even living?
What? Well, my pets have taught me patience. That's for sure. I don't know that they've taught me anything about writing other than do it when they're not around. It's better when they're not. But no, pets, I think pets are good for teaching patience. And that's it's I really, really appreciate you asking that, because now you've got me thinking. I've never included an animal in my stories. That's something I really should do in the next book. So I'll have a pumpkin named Dom, and I'll have a dog named Dom, I guess. I wouldn't name a cat after you.
Oh,
Maybe a dog.
good.
Or like
Okay.
a hamster or a rabbit or a guinea pig. I don't know, some kind of an animal. I never thought about that. That's so interesting. I'm writing a note to myself right now. Add animal to next story. Done.
And the stray listeners who listen to the show from Peter are cheering. Woo! The animals in the book. Ah!
Maybe they'll be magical animals. I don't know. I don't know.
Well,
I
there you go.
I've only ever written like women's fiction. I've never really delved out of the women's fiction um thing for fiction. Although I did write a short story for an anthology, which was not women's fiction. It was more like young adult. That was the first thing that I ever had published. And that was an interesting experience too. But yeah, so maybe I can do something like bringing magic animals in or something. I don't know. I have so many ideas. I think that's part of being a writer. You just have so many ideas. And I mean, I don't write them all down. I really should. As a writer, you have all these ideas in your head and you're like, oh, I'll remember that. And then 2 minutes later, you've got something else going on. So you're a writer, Dom. Do you write fiction or do you only write nonfiction?
Oh, I'm nonfiction. I try to ink anything when I think it because I'm like, nope, that mess gonna heck. Even yesterday, I even emailed a book title idea to myself because I'm like, wait a second, I'm probably gonna forget in the morning. It's like
Yes.
like I'm not even like freaking 70 or whatever. I'm like, nope, I've lost ideas before. Let me just go and email this to myself now and then wake up later and then judge it later.
Hopefully you put all the words in there, because I've done that too. I've written a note to myself and I think I'll remember my own shorthand, but then I look at it and I'm like, I have no idea what that even means. Like those words don't even go together. I don't even know what I was trying to say.
Then you'll be looking like that meme online of one of the founding fathers trying to read his own signature.
Exactly. That's exactly right. But I mean, I'm talking about even like a note on my phone. I'll do that a lot. I'll be in bed and I'll be thinking, well, if I at least don't jot it down, I'm going to forget it. So I have my phone by my bed on my nightstand, and I'll just pull up my phone and I'll go to the notes app and I'll just write in a couple of words, again, thinking I'll know what I mean the next day when I look at it. But then the next day comes along and I look at it and I have no idea why I would put spruce next to cabbage. Like, I don't know what that means. What's spruce? What's cabbage? What am I even saying? Like, what is it? I have no idea what I'm trying to say. And it's the worst because it's the middle of the night and you know what you're writing, and then when you get there the next day and you're like, I don't even think that this is what I wanted to write. What spruce? I can think maybe I'm thinking somebody named Bruce, but cabbage. What's cabbage? I have no idea what I'd be trying to write. That's cabbage. It just doesn't make sense. But yeah, the life of a writer, the brain of a writer, exactly.
So maybe it's a scene in your next book where the young lady finds a guy named Bruce in the wonderful grocery store, and he has a box of Cabbage Patch Kids in his shopping cart for his
Oh,
little
look at
one.
you. Look at you go. See that? You bing bang boom, you've got it out already.
Oh, yes, indeed. That's right, indeed.
Indeed. Yeah.
Yeah. And she
So
wakes
I
up from the dream on a tricorn.
we never wake up from a dream in a book. That's like not, not supposed to happen. No dreaming. No dreaming in the book.
Even for fantasy.
Oh, I
Actually,
don't
no,
know.
that's dumb.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not my, I don't like to read. I like to read women's fiction. That's probably why I like to write women's fiction. It's what I like to read. Although when I was younger, I read a lot of Stephen King, like Dean Koontz. I read some Anne Rice. So yeah, maybe I can write romance. I don't know. Diana Gabaldon. Yeah. So I mean, I've definitely read some different genres, but I don't particularly care for. I know there's a lot of Lord of the Rings lovers, but I am not a Lord of the Rings lover myself, or Harry Potter. I'm very sorry for the Harry Potter fans. I'm sorry. I can't get into Harry Potter. I read every single book though. My kids and my husband were like, you got to read it. And I read all of the books, but they were not my cup of tea at all. Just not
Uh,
my thing.
so that's probably why they didn't wake up from the dream, because Bruce was a gardener named Harry. Look, stop.
Was right. It tricked us the whole time.
He had a beard. He was a Harry Potter. He was a darn gardener this whole time. He was planting cabbages. He was trying to spruce up his garden.
There you go. Oh my gosh, maybe that's what it is. Sprucing the cabbage patch.
And he was a single dad, so there were two kids. So there you go. They were in the cabbage patch.
Got it. Got it. Taking notes, taking notes. I will give you credit. I will give you credit when this book comes out.
Woohoo! Especially if it's Visa or MasterCard. You love to see it. That's right indeed. Let me stop. $sign DomBrightmon to Cash App. Well, anyways, fun question for you. So, if your marvelous book between February and November, if that book were a food, what would it be and why?
If between February and November were a food, what would it be and why? It would be baked Alaska because it's something that you don't expect. That's what I'm going with. That's an interesting question. I have to say, I never in a million years would have thought of that question. That's kind of like that Barbara Walters question. If you were a tree, what tree would you be? That's like that's like that same question. That's so funny. But yeah, I'm going with baked Alaska because the two things just don't go together. Um, and that's my final answer, Dom.
Oh, my goodness, Baked Alaska. That's the first time Baked Alaska's been an answer. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. That's right. So all the ice cream. You love the ice cream cake goodness. That's right
Hmm.
indeed. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. It won an award, so folks are screaming for this metaphorical ice cream.
Yeah, it did. I was very fortunate. It did win an award. And actually before it was published, so again, I started writing the book in February of 2019. And then I saw a contest come up from Notebook Publishing, which was an independent publishing house in the UK. And it was called Indie April. So the obviously the contest happened in April. So I'd written the book in February of 2019, and I submitted the book to this Indie April contest. Again, I have no idea. I had no idea what I was doing, and I still only have like a half an idea of what I'm doing now. But back in 2019, I was like, oh yeah, I can try this. And to my surprise, it placed in the top 10, which I was just super surprised about, especially finding out from agents and publishers that, hey, listen, your book doesn't have enough words in it to qualify for like a women's fiction novel. But that was definitely a boost to my young writer's ego. When I say young writer, I'm not a young writer, just young, in the writing business, new to the writing business. So that definitely helped push me forward. And then I submitted the book so I've only submitted it to 2 contests. And then the second contest I submitted it to was the, oh gosh, I'm going to forget the name of the award. I cannot forget the name of the award. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Um, what is it? The Firebird Book Award. Thank you. I submitted it to the Firebird Book Award, and I submitted it for fiction. I think I submitted it for women's fiction too, but it did place first in the fiction category, which was again a little bit of a boost for me, especially since it was being released in November, and the award was announced also in the end of October, so it kind of coincided quite nicely with the launch in November.
Sweet. That's what I'm talking about, indeed. That's right, indeed. At first fail, try again, dang gummit, and then you'll get the gold medal and the blue ribbon. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. And then you'll have the whole loaf. It'll be successful. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed.
Well, I mean, I feel very, like I said, very fortunate and very lucky. I really do feel very lucky to have been kind of like in the right place in the right time as far as that award went. And I don't know that I think awards are great. Don't get me wrong. I want my book to be read. I want my books to be read and talked about. I think it's interesting when the readers talk about the books. I had seen on Facebook a couple of readers had posted about uh, talking about the book, and they were on their morning walk, and it was I guess it was just a top of conversation because I guess three of the people who were walking had read the book, and it was just such an interesting conversation because they were just talking about the book and what happened, and somebody's perspective was a little different than somebody else's perspective about what happened in the book and how things could have happened. And I would have loved to be part of that conversation. I've had a couple of people who are in book clubs who have said, oh, when we read your book, we really want you to come and discuss the book. And I'm like, I would love to do that. I think that would be a great idea, because I would love to hear what people have to say about the book. And everybody has a different idea of how they think something should have gone, and opinions are great. I love to hear other people's opinions and perspectives.
Woohoo! That's right, indeed. Sarah, they're right, folks. Pull out your onions. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. Oh, wait, she said opinions. Never mind. Those are different. That's right, indeed. Well, you're welcome back on the show anytime. You've been freaking fun on all the buns, indeed. So we're coming down to the magical question that every guest gets to receive. And that is, if you don't wake up tomorrow and you're 25 again, but you're still in 2023, what advice would you give to yourself?
I would tell myself to believe in yourself. Just go with your gut and believe in yourself a little more.
Sweet. That's right, indeed. Go with your gut, yo. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. That's right. Be like a snare drum if you have to. That's right, indeed. Just for posterity. That's right, indeed. Go with your gut. That's right, indeed. You'll get that knowledge, indeed. Knowledge
Yeah.
from the other world.
I wish I should have phrased it a little more poetically rather than say go with your gut, go with your instincts. I don't know. I need to rephrase that so it sounds a little more, I don't know, flows a little nicer off the tongue.
Oh, don't worry. Go with Your Gut is a classic. And
Go with your
besides,
gut.
alliteration.
Certainly brings something to mind. Yeah, so go with instincts. Follow your instincts. Oh yes, and be authentic.
Yeah, that's right indeed. Because name of the game, they want genuine leather. We do not want the pleather. No pleather jacket. Go with leather. That's right. That's right indeed.
Right.
That's right indeed.
That pleather's gonna crack in no time.
Heck yeah. That's right indeed. It'll crack faster than the humans. That's right indeed. And we're born with cracks, so that's how fast it cracks.
Oh.
That's right. Told you it was the
Oh.
danger zone.
Little bit there.
Well, before the labyrinth expands, folks need to follow you in all the wonderful stuff that you're doing and keep on the lookout for your upcoming books because here you got another one on the way. So, for those who need to snag some copies of your book and keep on with your journey, what's the best way for folks to do so?
So you can go to Amazon or you can go to my website, pattileewriter.com, and you can click the link on my website under books, and that will take you to the Amazon page where you can buy my book. That would be the easiest way. Or you can just go to Barnes and Noble or Walmart, wherever. But the easiest way online is to go to my website and then click the book link, and that will take you to between February and November.
Sweet. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. So snag a copy of the book, share it with your friends, family, camel, heck, even share it with Penguin. Indeed, that's right indeed, especially when it's November and you're in a land of penguins. That way they are in the right part of the area, the right part of the year where it's supposed to be cold. That's right indeed. That's
Mm.
right indeed. That's
Mm-hmm.
right indeed.
Try to think of a snappy comeback, but I don't have one.
Oh, don't worry. There's no comeback. It's just my used car salesman bit. So before we
Okay.
close up shop, any parting word before we do?
No, was again, thank you for having me, Dom. I super appreciate it. And if anybody wants to follow me on Twitter, I'm at Patti Author, or you can follow me on Facebook at Patti Lee Author page on Facebook. And I have an Instagram also, which is also at Patti Author.
Thanks a bunch for investing your time by listening to this wonderful podcast today. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you really did, do me a solid and leave a review or share this episode with at least 3 people that you think would get some value out of today's content. Advance others to advance yourself.